Now, I know some of you are probably like, Jodine, travel where? We're in the middle of a pandemic. What are you talking about? What are we doing? Travel? What are you talking about? I know. However, I wanted to, in the midst of this pandemic, share with y'all two of my favorite tools that I do use when I do travel. So when it's time to travel, y'all will be ready, okay? Your girl's gonna put you on. I'm gonna put you on. And then you'll be ready when the pandemic's over. You'll be flued out, driving everywhere, you know? I'm gonna put you on. Hey beautiful ones, if it's your first time here, I'm Jodine, the Hustling Homebody, and welcome. In my videos, I hope to encourage you to pursue your vision, your passion, and your goals by equipping you with productivity tools, while also encouraging you to create spaces that feel homey and enable you to rest. We're all about that mix of resting and hustling, getting things done, but also taking care of ourselves. I post every Sunday, and my videos range from lifestyle videos to productivity videos, planning videos, and travel videos. So today's video will actually be a travel video. Woo! 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 So we're gonna do that today. I often get the question, Jodine, how in the world do you afford to travel? Now, behind this question, which makes a lot of sense, I'm gonna be honest with you, it makes sense that people are asking this. Behind this question is the fact that last year alone, I traveled to Italy, I traveled to the US Virgin Islands, all three of them, so St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John. I traveled to Costa Rica, I traveled to Hawaii, and I ended the year by traveling on a solo trip to Ireland and England. And I did all of that while making less than $40,000 a year and having one income. So it's like, make this math work, Jodine. So people have been asking me about this, and I wanted to tell y'all my two top tools for how your girl does it. Girl, how do you do it? And I had some trips coming up this year. Corona didn't want to let me be great, but we was booked. We was booked and ready, okay? We was booked. I have two key tools that I use when doing this process. The first one is Kayak Explorer, and the second one is Google Flights. Now, with Kayak Explorer, I love it. I came across it when a coworker was helping me to look at flights for booking a domestic flight for work. But I realized that I can use the system in a different way for my personal adventures, y'all. I was like, wait a second, we could be onto something here, okay? We could be onto something. So the first one, Kayak Explorer. What I love about Kayak Explorer is that it gives me the opportunity to put in a particular budget and a particular location. So sometimes I leave from different locations, but I have the opportunity to say, oh, I want to go from Boston, or I want to go from Hartford, or I want to go from Georgia, wherever I am. I can put in the location, and I can also put in the budget, and I can also choose a time of year. Within the feature, there's an option where you can do anywhere or anytime, but sometimes I'm like, well, for work, I really can only travel in March. That's when spring break is, or there's a little bit more flexibility in March, so I'm going to choose March. So I will go into the Kayak Explorer tool. I will put in the place that I'm leaving from. I'll put in that I want the month of March, and I'll put in my budget. Let's say $250. Your girl only has $250, and I'm trying to see where I can go in the world for that price. I will put that information into Kayak Explorer, and it will tell me everywhere in the world that I can go in the month of March. Okay? Like anywhere. Where we trying to go? We going to Ireland? We just going to the West Coast? Where we going with this? Like anywhere. So I love that tool because it gives me the flexibility to see all international and domestic flights that I can take. I use this often for both international and domestic flights. The other thing about this tool is that I will use this information to go to my second favorite tool, Google Flights. I always start with Kayak Explorer, and then I'll go to Google Flights. Google Flights is comparable to a lot of the other search engines that I've seen other travel vloggers and travel bloggers talk about. I find that it's comparable, so I use Google Flights because it hasn't failed me yet. So if it ain't broke, who am I to fix it? Okay. So pretty much what I'll do in this process is I will take the flight information that I got from Kayak Explorer, and I'll go to Google Flights. I use two main things in Google Flights. The first one is the ability to look at the price, so the price graph. So in this feature, I can put in my information. So I'm leaving in March, like I said, I'm leaving from this location. Kayak Explorer has told me what dates work. It's like giving me a flight. I'll put all of that information in to Google Flights. And Google Flights, I can go in and then use the price graph to determine when in the year is this flight the same time. So it'll tell me clearly, okay, you chose March, so hopefully that flight should show up. It's another way of authenticating what Kayak Explorer said. The main reason that I use it is that it gives me flexibility. The flexibility comes from the fact that with the price graph, it will tell me any time of the year, at least 12 months or so, the flight calendar. But it will tell me any other time of the year that the flight that I've chosen is the same price. So when I'm saying flight, I mean the place that I'm trying to go to, my departure place, my arrival place, like that same information. It'll tell me any other time of the year that it's the same price. So that means if I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't want to go in March. And then I discover, wait a second, they have the same flight for $250. Actually, less than $250 at Kayak Explorer. And it's in the summer. That means I can stay longer potentially if I want to. There's more flexibility. I'm not working. This could be my summer vacation. So that flight tool will tell me when in the year I can go. And that'll give me the flexibility to choose whether or not I want to stick with my original place and date or if I want to change that up. So I love that tool. The second part of this is that I will go to, I'll insert the name of the specific name of the tool, but the point of this tool is that it tells me what days of the week that I can travel. So I like it because one, it tells me, are there more days? So I picked a flight, for example, that's 4 days. Is it possible to travel for the same price and get 7 days? Cause like your girl, we are budget friendly. We save our coins out here. So if I can get 7 days instead of 4, and it's in my budget, of course, then I'm gonna be doing that. So it will tell me, this tool will tell me, hey, Jodine, actually, you can get this flight at the same price if you leave this date and this date, and it's actually 6 days, so you get 2 extra days. Love that. The other thing is, I personally love traveling at the end of the week. So I might be like, hey, is it possible actually for me to leave like a Thursday and a Friday versus like a Tuesday? Like what I look like. I mean, I have traveled on a Tuesday, but it will tell me, hey girl, you can actually leave on a Thursday if you want to. And it's the same price. And you get 2 extra days. Like, come on, blessings. Come on, rain down in here, blessings. Okay. So I will usually do that and it will give me the opportunity to have more flexibility. So I love Google Flights because it allows me to have flexibility in terms of when I'm going in the year. It has flexibility in terms of the day that I'm leaving, the day that I'm returning. And on top of that, it gives me flexibility with the airline. So I've had different experiences where Kayak Explorer has given me an airline that's kind of like, I never flew with them before. It's a good flight. And then I'll put it in the Google Flights and it'll be telling me Delta got it. It'll be telling me American, United, or like Iberia has it, like British Airways has it. There's just so many of them. It'll tell me, hey girl, you don't have to take that airline that you never heard of before. Actually, what you can do is hop on this. So I will hop on that and I'll be able to pick a flight that is with an airline that I like. So I usually go through this process. I'm going to show y'all how I do this. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to do it. I've been using a lot of 2s today, apparently, but I'm going to show you 2 different ways of doing this. Like one that's kind of a little bit more rigid and one that's a little bit more flexible. And they kind of both get at an idea of how to find a flight. So keep watching and I'll show you guys actually how I do this step by step. Okay? Okay.
So method 1 is a strict time of travel. So you have an idea in your head of when you can go. You don't have that flexible time. So the first thing that I'm going to do is Google Kayak. As you can see, I've searched it before. I'm going to click that right now. So I'll do it the regular way. So you can find the Explore option actually at the bottom of the left side of your screen. In it, I'll put in my departure city. So I'll say Boston in this case. I'm leaving from Boston and want to see anywhere and all the options. My only criteria that I start with is $350. So my predetermined budget, I plug that in. And then it gives me all of the results. So I zoomed in to see different places. So I'll zoom in and zoom out. So now I'm just highlighting the options that I see that I like outside of the United States. So I saw Barcelona, there's Puerto Rico, there's Aruba, and then there's Grand Cayman Islands. So now I'm going to look for my specific timeline. So I'm going to start with March. I'll say that I want to go during March because it's a freer month, spring break, different schools are on break then. So I'm going to look for March. So I put in that criteria now, which will limit the amount of options that come up as I search. So as you can see, there are no more options popping up for Barcelona, Aruba, Grand Cayman. So now I'm like, okay, well, I do want to go outside of the country versus inside the country. So I'm going to try April. So March, April, freer months for me. Let me see what happens. From that option, I see that St. Thomas is available. So we're going to choose that example for this, or we're going to choose that one for this example. COVID measures currently right now, so you wouldn't see that in a typical living life environment. So I'm showing y'all the dates that came up with this flight, which is 4/19 and 4/26. So I'm going to take those dates and I'm going to go back to Google and take them to Google Flights. So I'll type in the dates of 4/19, search for it, and then 4/21, or not search for it, 4/26, and I'll search for it to see what options come up. So then I'm seeing now that actually Kayak played your girl because there's two options. So there's a 337 and there's a 343. The 337 didn't come up because it has a stop. And I had asked for nonstop in my criteria. So I'm going to take that price. I'm going to put it into the price graph function. And I'm going to pretty much just go back and forth between the different months of the year to see when there are other times that are comparable. Like, can I get this flight for $300? Can I get it for $200? After this date, are they all $500? So this just lets me see what other comparable options exist within the system. So yeah. So then I see that there's a $295 option, but it's Spirit, and I'm not flying Spirit, and I'm definitely not flying Spirit across the country. It also has multiple stops. So I take this out. So I'll go to the more function and I will take out, airlines function, and I'll take out Spirit from my search criteria because I know I do not want to fly with them. This also means that the price points will probably be a little bit higher because often Sprint has the cheaper flights as expected. But this gives me a true accurate display of what my options are. So again, I'm just going to go back and forth looking between the months and deciding what I might like. So I'm clicking the April 9th one. It was a comparable flight, 337. And as you can see, there's a nonstop and then there's one with a stop. So if I don't mind paying for it, then I just choose that one as my date. You can see the different options: basic, main cabin, and Delta Comfort. And there are different price points in terms of changing them. One thing to note is that there are different stops, the length of stops and the prices. So there's a difference of 337 versus 373 for your stop. And then there's different times in the stop. So one stop, that's 52. Often if I am going to choose a stop, I'll choose somewhere that I'm familiar with. So in this case, Atlanta, because I go to Atlanta often. I'm familiar with the airport. And if anything happens, my mom lives there. So I picked this flight. I'll go to Delta. Delta will show me my trip summary of what I've selected, and I can book it through the website, which is perfect. I tried to book it with the official website just to avoid any problems and make sure it's legitimate. I want to make sure the airline recognizes me when I show up. So that's the first way of doing that. So method 2 is for flexible time of travel. When we're thinking about flexibility, we're thinking about you are flexible in terms of when in the year you travel, you're flexible in terms of what day you travel, and you're flexible in terms of how long you'll be traveling for. So the other one was more strict in terms of timeline. And in this one, I'll show you some additional tools that I use within Google Flights, or an additional tool that I use within Google Flights. So again, same process. Kayak, you Google Kayak. Y'all know this. Click Flights. Left-hand side, Explore. Click that. You know this, but repetition, it helps. We're putting in our budget. Our budget hasn't changed. It's $350. And then we're going to look at the map. As we're looking at the map this time, we're just checking out whatever is available. As you can see, my search criteria is anywhere, anytime, any duration. and I will not change this. So I'm just looking at options. I'm seeing some, again, Puerto Rico, Aruba, and Barcelona. For this example, I'm going to take Barcelona. Never been, want to go, was supposed to go. So we're going to take that. And the date that it's giving me is January 12th to January 21st. You'll see that in the bottom. So from there, I'm going to take those dates, Boston to Barcelona, and put them into Google Flights or into Google so I can see Google Flights. Then, again, Google Flights and recognize my dates. So I'm going to put in those specific dates for January 12th to January 21st. And I'm going to press show flights to see what they're giving me. Right now it's looking good. Iberia is the cheapest at $266. And it's telling me that's $121 lower than usual, which isn't bad. I'll just examine the flight details, make sure I like it and the price. Then again, I'll go to Pricecraft. So as I'm scanning, per usual, I'm looking to see, is it possible to get this flight for less than $266? So when is it cheaper? Second, are there other times in the year that I actually prefer? Like, do I want to do it in the summer? Do I want to do it in the spring? Do I want to do it in the winter? Are there other times that the price is the same? And also just, yeah. And then I'm going to do date grid, which is a different thing that I didn't do last time. With date grid, I'm specifically looking to see what days of the week give me the same price. So I will be able to say, like, do I want to travel on a Friday? Do I want to travel on a Thursday? What are the differences between those? And I'll see. It'll give me just more options to decide, like, oh, I do want to travel on a different day. I'm going to select that. Then there's two options, but the cheaper one is the $545 to the $940. So I'm going to take that one. They're both nonstop, which is perfect. I love nonstop when I'm going internationally. Okay, then I'm going to book it through Iberia because that's what I like. Like I said, I usually book through the actual website so that I have no problems with the actual airline. So when as much as possible, I try and book with the airline versus an outside source. In other cases, I have used like Expedia, I think for Italy, we booked it through Expedia. And it's just not as smooth. So I prefer just booking through the site. But yeah, so that's the process.
Thank y'all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't. Make sure you share it with your friends. Put your friends on. We could all be flued out. I use this in so many different ways. For family trips, for solo trips, for trips with friends. This is a tool and process that I use. This is step one. To be going places and be out here making memories. So make sure you subscribe to this channel, like this video, and of course, share it with your friends. Until next time, y'all. Bye.